health bar in our top left corner, there is regenerating, and we can take damage and then it'll start regenerating back up, and we can deal this enemy some damage and their health bar will be there too. I'll talk you through it. We'll set up an enemy and we'll set up the damage base for your character as well. Any questions, drop them in the comments. Very much. So first things first, we're going to create a new folder and call this health system, and then we're going to create two things. So we're going to right click, get a blueprint class, get an actor component, call this BPC health, and then we're going to right click and get a user interface widget blueprint, and we're going to call this WBP health bar, and then finally we're going to right click, get a blueprint interface, call this BPI health, and the health component is going to hold all our health details. The health bar is going to show it on screen, and the BPI health is going to sort of communicate between the two what needs to happen. So we'll start in BPC health. We'll add two variables, and both of these will be float. We'll get current health. Oh, current health, and then we'll press Control D and we'll get max health. And because this is a component, we're going to add it to our character, and then we can set each of these values independently. So each character that has this component can have a different health, but just in case I forget to do that, then I'm going to put a default value. So in details, we can set a default value to be 100 each. Okay, we're going to get rid of big in play and event tick because we don't need those. We're going to create a function. So this will be decrease health, and inside decrease health we want a amount or a float. So decrease by, and then we want to get current health and subtract the decrease by from it, and then we're going to set current health, and then we're going to check if it's less than or equal to 0, get a branch, and if it is, then we need to get an event dispatcher, and we can call on death, and if it's not, we can carry on. We can stop it going below 0 if we get a clamp, so in between the minus and the current health, then we can clamp it. So, and we can get max health just here, and then it won't go below 0 and decrease above max, which obviously makes no sense, but just good practice. And it enables us to do this, so we can select decrease health and Control D, and then we can call this increase health, and we can change this decrease to be an increase, and we can change this current float, this minus here, to be a plus, and we can put that into the value, and then this stops it going above max as well. And then we can do a greater or equal on the max health to see if it's reached its full health. And if we do a right click, we can add a return node here, and we can add a boolean here to say health full. And if that's true, we'll tick that, and if it's false, we'll leave it unticked, like that. Then we can also just do a duplicate and say increase max health, and we can get rid of all of this and this, and change this to max health this to set max health. We can get rid of the output, which is already done. So now we have a decrease health event, which calls on death. We have an increase health event, which will help us heal and checks if we're at full health, and we have an increased max health as well. We also want a new function for calculate health percentage. And this is going to get current health, get max health, and do a safe divide. The reason for a safe divide is that if one of these is 0, then it returns 0. Whereas a normal divide won't do that. So now we need a new event dispatcher, and we're going to call this one on health changed. And we need to add a parameter to this one. So new parameter just here. Event dispatcher on health change. We're just going to hop to details and add a parameter, and we're going to change it to float. I'm going to say new percentage. And then I'm just going to call it here and pass this into it here. Then when we decrease health, just before the branch, when we work out dead, I'm going to calculate the percentage. So, and when we increase health, again, just before we go to the branch, we calculate the percentage, like so. One thing on decrease health, if we are at 0, I just want to add a return node in here. So add return node, and then we can make the return a boolean, and we can say dead. Yeah, we can duplicate that, so Control D, and if it's not under 0, then we can leave that as empty. So now we have a way to take damage, so we can decrease health via take damage, we can increase health with our potions, and we can increase our max health when we level up or whatever, and we can calculate our percentage. Next, we want to be able to do some damage over time events. So we're going to make a custom event, and this one is going to call damage over time, and we're going to do set timer by event, and we're going to promote the return value to a variable, and this will be dot timer, so damage over time timer. And then from this event, we're going to make a new custom event. This will be our dot loop, and we'll take looping on this, and then we're going to get decrease health, and we're going to, from dead, we'll get a branch, and our dot timer just here, we'll do clear invalidate timer, like so. So this is like if we stand in fire, we're going to do damage over time. So we're going to do it every 0.1 seconds, and we're going to feed damage over time, feed the amount into here so that we can see how long that's going to last. Now we're going to take a bit of a shortcut here, and we're going to select all this, Control and V, and we're going to change this to our increase. So increase by, and then we'll call this increase over time, and then this will be our increase loop. And if we delete dot timer, we can then promote this one to a timer, and this is our regen timer. And then if we increase health, so we get rid of decrease health and get increase health, feed all those in, feed increase into increase. And then we can, if we are full, we can get the regen timer clear and invalidate timer by handle. But I don't want this increase timer to start straight away. So I'm going to add a retriggerable delay. Put that at 2 seconds. So whenever I call increase over time, it will start 2 seconds later. And you can sort of promote that to a variable if you want to change how long it starts. So now, decrease health. If we're regenning and we're decreasing, I want to clear that timer. So clear and invalidate timer by handle. So if we decrease health, we clear and invalidate the regen timer. If we are increasing health, I want to clear and invalidate the dot timer. And if we're handling health is full outside of the thing, so that's fine. We're handling no health outside of that as well, so that's good. The only other thing I want to do, so we'll call it increase over time event. We'll increase that by 1. And what will happen is if we are looping through this, because we're decreasing health, it will always hit this, and then it will hit this, and it will hit it again and reset it. But once this event is finished doing sort of what it needs to do, then we will set the timer and start regenning straight away. So that should all be set up how we want it. Right, let's go to our health bar, and we're just gonna get health bar, progress bar. So get progress bar, and we're gonna put it into our widget. And in the graph, we're gonna come to class settings and down to implement event interfaces, and click add BPI health. And this will load into our interfaces, our health percentage, just here. But right now that's not going to do what I need, so go to BPI health. This might be called new function for you, just change its name to health percentage. And we're going to add in a float. We're going to call that new percent, like that. And then we're going to get our health progress variable, which is our progress bar. And we're going to say set percent. We're just going to feed that into there. And that's it for our health bar. So now, if you haven't got a HUD, you can create a new widget. And in that, call it a HUD. And we're going to add a canvas panel to that. And then we can get our health bar and drag that into it. And then where our health bar is. So if we just go back to our health bar. And top system, health bar. And we can set that to 1. Change the color, so we can change the color to green. So it's a bit more noticeable. And there we go, there's our HUD. So now inside our player character, we can add our HUD, which I've already done, but I'll show you how to do it. We just get a create widget and select HUD, promote a HUD reference to a variable, and add to viewport. On the left, we can come to the add button and add our health component. You see health. And then we can go to details, check that our health and our myself is 100, called the on health changed event, which is an event dispatcher, so it creates this event in our character. Get the HUD ref, get the health bar, and then from there we can call the set percentage message. So now if I do a one event, so debug Q1, I can get health and do decrease health, and we can decrease that by 10. So we can go back to health and go down to the onDef event, and then we can add in a print string so that we know what happens on def. So we can say def, and then when we play, see it go down. In a second, it will then start to go up. It will then reset to 2 seconds before it starts to go up again. And then if we're in def, but then we notice it starts to go up, which is not what we want. So we can come to our BPC health and we can do 2 things. So we can get this regen timer and clear and invalidate it if we are dead. And then inside the event graph, in the retriggerable delay, we can get a branch. And if current health is less than or equal to 0, then we don't do anything. But if that's false, then we do this. Because this is still on hold here. So if we die in the meantime, this doesn't get reset. So we just need to check this afterwards. So that should fix this. So we press 1. We start to regen after 2 seconds. I'll do this, dead, and nothing happens. We're on 0 health, nothing to regen, which is beautiful. And you can handle all of your def logic, or you can either handle it in here. You can create a new event for def, or you can create a new component for def at individual sort of def that you want to call. And then you can call it from here, or you can handle it in the player individually. It's completely up to you what you want to do. What I'm going to do though is our health bar. So here we want to change this to increase health. So increase health, and get this at 10. And then I'm going to set the health to be 50%. There we go. So now when I press 1, it goes up in tens. Okay. But what we probably want to do is, because you saw that didn't set it on the start, so we also want to, on begin play, in here, we want to call calculate percent. So now when it's at 50%, it's at 50%. And that sets it, so if you like save your game or whatever, then it will set it. And then the other thing to do is we can start the regen. So increase over time. You can sort of set that to 1 or whatever your increase rate is. So now at 50%, you can see it starts to increase, and I can rush it with a potion, and you can sort of change that. So standard regenerate. You can promote this to a variable, so we'll do that. Promote to a variable. And we'll call this the regen rate. And mine's set to like 0.2, so you can see it slowly crawling up. If I press 1 to heal myself, that goes up as well. And then it should stop when we get to the top. Which it does. And then, what else do we want to do? If we do a decrease over time, so a damage over time event, and we can decrease that by 1. You see that's going down, and then we'll die, and it won't return or regen, which is perfect. So that's our damage over time event. And so what we'll do is in event, we could do any damage, event any damage, BPC health, and then call decrease health. We would pass in the damage here. So on keyboard 1, we can get apply damage, and I can call this base actor self and apply 10 damage. So, and there we go, there's our damage. Apply in dynamically, which is what we want. And if we quickly knot together a damage volume, so blueprint class actor, we'll call this BP fire damage. And I just want a cube, and around this cube we want a collision box collision. I want the cube to not have any collision, and the box cube to overlap or dynamic. Beautiful. On the box, we'll do an add event on component we can overlap, and we'll do an end on component end overlap. And in the other character, we can get component by class, and we can get the health component, and we can call the damage over time event. We can decrease that by, say, 1. And then we can duplicate this when we leave. We can get the dot timer, and then we can clear and invalidate the dot timer when we leave. So now if I put this out into the world and run into it, you'll see that my health goes down, and then I run out of it, and that's it. But so my health goes up if I'm in there. So actually, there's a problem here when we're doing damage over time. So we should damage over time, get this regen timer, and clear and invalidate that timer, and press begin play, and then we come out of it, and then we go into it and we start getting damaged again, and then when we come out of it we go back up. There we go. Now this isn't great, because now if we go right click, migrate, so if we click migrate, it'll then try and take BPC health, our health system, and that's not what we really want. So if we go back into fire damage, then we can create another interface for this that says damage actor or something, and we can call that from here. So rather than having that interact interface, we'd just have a new one, blueprint interface called BPI damage over time, and then inside here we just have damage over time, and I'd add an input for on as a boolean, and then inside fire damage I could call damage over time and turn it on. And we would want to pass the damage through. So go back to BPI damage over time. We can add a float and say damage over time. And then inside fire damage, we'll refresh this. This will then be 1 second. And we can duplicate this and pass this over and untick this. And then back in our sandbox character, we can get class settings and we can add a BPI damage over time. And we can get those functions that were here. So damage over time, get BPC health for damage over time function, and do that. And then we can make a branch from here. So if it's on, we want to run this. And if it's off, we want to get the health, get dot timer, and clear, invalidate timer by handle. So let's test that. Decreasing and stopping when we're out, and then regening, and then back to decreasing. So now if I went to do BP fire damage, it just takes this BPI damage over time, which any actor can have. And that stops us taking over lots and lots of things. So those are two methods for you that show you the difference in sort of blueprint communication. We set up an enemy, so we'll go to blueprint class, character, BP, enemy, and we can make this skeletal mesh character 18, which is just a character I got from Mixmo, but you can use the money. There'll be a money in here. SK and money simple, but all I care about is adding the health component and saying the health 100 and 100 is fine. And then we can add the health widget bar to the top. What did I call it? So we can add a widget here and then go down here, set the space to screen, and the widget class will be health bar, like that. And then in event graph, we can do event any damage, DPC health, decrease health, decrease it by that much, and then in BPC health we can get the on health changed event, get our widget, and call the health percentage message, pass that in like that. Now if I drag this guy out into the world, oh no. So if we go to widget, we can say what size we want it to be. I don't want it to be 500, I want it to be 30 by 100. That's the wrong way around. Widget 100 by 30. There we go. So now if I go back to sandbox character, where's my debug event? Number 1. And we can get to of class. This will be the enemy. And we can say apply damage. We can apply 10 damage to him. You would do this as like an attack system, but this is fine for now. So we want to get widget try that. There we go. And now his health goes down as well, and we haven't had to change anything. And that's the beauty of setting it up in sort of this way, is that with components and with very individualized like health bars and stuff, we can just add stuff and move stuff around as need be. There's no need to do lots of work. So widget, get widget is the bit that was missing, and then we can call health percentage, and you've just added it to an enemy.